Operator bans first, of course, and there's many different ways you can go. You just heard them say at the analyst desk, a Valkyrie ban is one that should really be making an introduction here. And well, on the attack, there's a couple of different ways you can go, because what we do see on Coastline a lot is these aggressive plays with, for example, a lot of Lions. So maybe that one will get removed.
Well, it's the Nomad that goes out from the choice of Mkers this time round. When they last met on Clubhouse, I think it was a Zofia ban, was what they brought to the table. And it did sort of stutter in terms of TSM's approach. But TSM also faced that yesterday, and they put Bolo on Ash instead. They sort of juggled a couple of things around, and he had his best game of the day. So it's something where if it was a shock the first time round, it's definitely less of a surprise now. Iana and Wamai taken out of the table. I know he was a bit of a focus operator for some of the plays yesterday. And Iana, to be fair as well, you think of all the utility that can be burnt, all the utility that can be destroyed on quick entrances around Hookah, around Service, or Kitchen Window, or Sunrise, or the list goes on in stuff that gets stacked up with gates and with, obviously, you know, Banshees, with a whole mess of trouble.
Yeah, and Yana, of course, really an operator that suits well in this meta. The Gemini Replicator that will recharge allows you to take care of these laser gates or the Surya gates, whichever name you will prefer. But also having 2 grenades and the Gun 6, it is a lot of utility on one operator there. So will get removed. Now, we did see quickly that the line was being hovered over by Chala, and the 6-pick will come in. There you have it, to the line. So that is going to be starting it off. And, well, will Akwi change to the Vigil? No, we'll go to the Alibi. So not seeing that direct counter coming in yet. It's often an operator that we do see coming out as soon as the Lion makes its entry. But it's only the first round, of course. That means there's still time for these adaptations to take place and let them develop. As we are going to the bars first. It is not very often the first bomb site we go to.
It really, I think it sort of slightly varies on a region per region basis. How often we see it as a first. It was the first TSM play against FaZe. They came down to the bars pretty frequently. It was a lot of a sort of attempt at a lockdown underneath with Geo behind the mirror window and pushing up and getting aggressive. They quite enjoy the bars, but it wasn't massively successful yesterday against FaZe, who were able to sort of just strong-arm them out of the holds that they wanted to have behind that pillar inside Sunrise.
Now, the opening Gemini just made into that wall, that of course has been opened up the way it has been to give some support, as the Maestro seems to be playing inside of Office for now, at least trying to waste some time. Having bot bars on either side will allow him to stay safe. Make sure that he has to be pushed through that bot wire if he wants to be cleared out. But you see that TSM is trying to put some pressure down. You see one repelled up on the security window. You see a couple of them are locating themselves around the door right here. 3 of them to be exact. Scatter will go down already.
That's it. Scatto's dropped. He's in a tough situation, but Gemini just swings wide. Scatto looks like he's been downed, potentially on cool vibes. So I'm not sure if he was caught by a bit of utility that was otherwise swung around, but there's otherwise full frag grenades. So no, it's all the pressure's coming here towards Gemini. Scatto is back to his feet, but there's a body inside the office. He swings, gets one, gets another one. Gemini says, hello, welcome to this office. Please take a seat. And suddenly TSM have to bring Charlotte back round. They have to try and get a response. That diffuser is in a place where that Alder can just go burr. He's still swinging for another potential hit on somebody. But TSM, this is not a door you can pass through, apparently.
I had 2 barbed wires on either side and had a Banshee as well to slow him down. And well, the advantage of the Alda is that there's 81 bullets in that magazine, so you can just continue firing if you're finding yourself in a situation where you are 1v3, of course. You're a very crucial operator in the late round, but if you manage to shut them down before they even get to the late round, you're already doing wonders here. And he's still dug in deep, and Chala using his last E1D to try and make something happen. Gemini knows that he will be pushing in right now. He doesn't know, but he does see him in the end. Doesn't manage to stick the kill, though. And they will find something on the side of TSM.
Huge amount of damage done to Charla there, but he was able to lock off the kill. Now it's a 4 versus 2, but you can still see the spread of the Mkers defense. It goes all the way around to the lobby side. They have the back of courtyard, which means that they cannot try and get a plant in on this close wall without suffering a huge amount of damage. And only 45 seconds with one on the second story and one pushing the base. They have to see if they can pinch just a safe angle, potentially dig themselves close to the wall right between Sunrise and Blue, and see if they can just have that pocket of space. It offers a bit of protection from the courtyard angle. You have a little bit of hard wall, but it all comes down to this cover that Achieved is trying to lock in here. There goes the drive. There, as I said, is the concern towards courtyard, but the frag grenade actually able to catch Lolo, and there's one more for Achieved. Drops in, finds himself right in the mix, and finds a third. Out of nowhere, Achieved has fallen from the hookah heavens, and Sash is able to put us in 1 versus 1. Finds the last one. Oh, if you missed the first TSM Mkers showdown, yeah, welcome to it.
Welcome to it. I was very afraid for a while that Gemini's triple kill from the start of the round will be for nothing as TSM. They almost managed to bring that back. Bit of impatience coming through from these players, trying to go for these peaks, and suddenly it's a 1v2 situation that gets clutched out by Mkers. It will be a good start for them. It's their first round instantly on the board, and now they will decide to go to the secondary side, and it will be hookah billiards as the line again gets pulled out. Now you might be wondering, is this going to be causing the potential Vigil to make his entry here? As you see Gemini again here with the triple kill. Merc was caught knifing the barbed wire, and Geo was just not quick enough on the response, and luckily Chala was able to bring something back. And the grenade here as well, just starting it off, allowing you to basically shut down one of these angles. And then Akwi goes a bit too aggressive, you dare.
That was, yeah, so he went a bit too aggressive there. Obviously, if he'd have just held back and put himself in a situation, they could have locked it off. They still pulled the round, but it's this early round. And this is one of the things that after their win yesterday, Mkers, there was an interview with them, and they said they like playing against NA teams because NA teams are predictable. They're a big structural region. It's a lot of plays. It's a lot of set performances, which Mkers say they prefer because it's easier to prepare against them. But TSM is a team that heats up, especially on this big stage, especially in a LAN environment. They have a history of being able to dig in and find a little bit extra. You can't ever count off a team in this state, in this kind of status, for being predictable. It's also how you show up on the day, and I guess taking those fights, those risks, the more Mkers try and make them, that's a history of TSM punishing those across anybody, across any opponent.
It is. And I think at this one in the tournament, we're not going to be able to count anybody out anymore of this tournament, because you've seen Parabellum, the team that came in, and everybody was like, they're going to go home as the first team of SI, you know? They're not going to stand a chance.
Yeah.
They just send G2 home with a 2-0. They just send them packing. And they're still going strong. Yes, maybe in that lower bracket, but they still managed to send home one of the most renowned teams and organizations inside of Siege. And now Mkers, they are a tier 3 team. We continue to mention it every single time, but it doesn't actually surprise us that they're here anymore, right? No. Like at some point, they went through the brackets, through the qualifiers quite easily, you can almost say. They managed to qualify for SI. Then, you know, they don't really struggle in their own nationals. They sometimes don't even have to go for op bans. They were literally hiding everything they could in the run-up to SI. Then they started off with a 7-4 victory over TSM in the group stages. And then we're like, wow, this team might actually go quite far. They might actually go quite far. We might have not expected it from a tier 3 team, even though they got through quite easily. But now to continue this run that they found themselves on, they need to make sure that they get the win against TSM, a team that they have beat before, but this time it will be in a best of 3 situation rather than the BO1. So it is going to be taking a little bit more of that long-range play. You know, you cannot just put your focus all in one map. You need to make sure that fatigue doesn't strike, and yeah, you stay focused throughout these different maps. And TSM is a very experienced team, so that might be where they get the upper hand from.
Now we head upstairs to see if they can, I guess, keep a bit of control here on Hookah. It all came to an explosive start. 3 bodies dropped before they could even really get into the building. Sure, they're dug towards some barbed wire, but before they could think about it, they'd been gunned down by Gemini, who swung aggressively from office. TSM, they've spread themselves out for this sort of diverse push here. They did get an opening down, which we didn't see too much of. And it's always that curiosity of, by the positioning, thinking about it with all the utility that was still on the board, I'm assuming it was someone heading over the top, caught them around where vases are on the top of Cool Vibes, and they crawled to safety so they couldn't confirm the kill. But at that point, with the pressure that was coming on office, it makes sense. Here, though, you can see them doing a similar thing. You see all the bodies that are sort of setting themselves around the top. They're looking to try and punish an angle apart from this quick pace, where they're starting to, I guess, dig underneath instead of going onto the top. They're looking for similar stories, similar big cross angles, cross plays that they can try and punish on their approach.
Now, this denies the setup that Mkers is currently using. You see 3 C4s on their side, and with TSM taking control of that bottom floor, it's going to be really hard to deny these plans later on in the round when the time's running out. So if TSM continue to hold control of this bottom floor, they might be able to use that into that later round to make sure that the Nitros will have to come out horizontally as achieved. Will be picking up that first kill. Akri will go down.
Wow, there's that opening drop, there's that opening play as yet again they're able to punish somebody just creeping across the top there steadily, blowing up all of the utility from underneath. They want to put the pressure up Cool Vibes here and try and clear that hold on the top. It gives them that little bit of breathing room and space as the E1D roars out over the top. They try and scream around, nobody's there. Already pulled off and can't go any further because of the own utility, but you've been able to buy yourself a bit of space. In fact, goes deep and goes even deeper. Drops the man on the double window. There's one just on the close left with the Chief picking the fight with the body that's slightly further away towards Aqua, but look at Geo planting just in the back of Aqua, in the back of Hookah even. They've been able to clear themselves that pocket of space. Achieved works wonders on the upside down rappel, and that's the diffuser down inside Hookah. That's the cover coming through. That is a team entirely isolated and locked off, and now Gemini suddenly has to dig his way all the way back across. There it is, leaving just Gemini by himself. Another ping comes out. A very long couple of seconds as he waits to see if he can try to reconvene, but look at the body underneath where the diffuser is. Look at this upside down rappel all the way from deep, and look at a 4K for achieved. TSM take a round.
Yeah, as soon as that plant went down, or rather, as soon as Bolo was inside of sight, you know that that round is only going to be going one way. He has a good opportunity, he has a good angle, and the support is there from the big window, so he's never going to be swung on in any form, right? It's never going to happen. So they managed to get that plan down, and in that case, Mkers will be forced to push out of their positions and will be forced to run right into the crosshairs of TSM and achieve there beautifully to start it off. And oh, Mkers was actually instead of Bolo that ran in.
Yep.
Beautifully played. I still have him in Bolo as the Ash.
No, now Zoffia's not banned.
Now Zoffia's not banned.
It's back on the Ash, been put back in that situation. And it was just a great drive. And I think this is what we're seeing here on Coast, is for all the talk that's been given about how American teams love to play these big setups, you can see, if you're unaware, as you'll see in this camera, the players are opposite each other.
Yeah, they are.
I think this is going to be... This is the first time we're seeing TSM in the Life or Death game as well. This is the first time that they've been in a situation where things are on edge. It
means a lot.
They had a pretty good run inside the group, obviously, for them to sort of end up in the situation where they're still in the top 4 and they're in the upper bracket. They're able to take the majority of their games with other teams having such a rough time in their groups. Yeah. They were never in danger.
But didn't Team Liquid, DDS, and Empire also have a really good time inside their groups?
Yep.
Where are they now?
Well, see them in danger. But this is TSM, as I said, in this Life or Death situation. We're going to get that energy. And it was something that we had in the build-up of their best of 3 yesterday. If you missed the game versus FaZe, it started slow for TSM. They seemed to kind of build into it as time went on. And by the end, obviously, the third map went pretty much all the way, with only a couple of misplays and a couple of moments to find in the game. It's good for TSM fans to see that energy carried over to today.
It definitely will be. Smirk here trying to find that first gunfight again. Doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that one is behind the bar, loses his life right there. The shotgun from Scado just hops up every now and then, and now a Nitro gets tossed out, but no one is near enough to actually make it rain. That's the flank coming in from Bolo right here, but he's going to fight two people now.
Yeah, Scatto is able to use the C4 he pre-placed before on Charla on the door, and the split gets popped open now, and Bolo's found himself in a very tricky situation. They know where he is, and the drone's going to make it awkward. He wants to try and hold the spot. He doesn't want to pull too far back, because as soon as he turns his back, well, things are going to slip away. But look at Geo. He's gone for the rotate where Charla was. They've been able to drop Akui on the far side, and it's Achieved that's creeping up on the opposite side too, trying to dig his way around Lobby instead. The pings are coming. Bolo needs to double down on this push now. All the attention is being focused, but the concern is Cool Vibes. They know they're trying to pinch onto Scatto, so he does the right decision. Geo cooks the man out from behind the bar, and they're able to take the kill. Granted, Achieved and Bolo are on a huge amount of damage, so is Lolo. Gemini and Geo both find themselves the only two players that still have all of their blood inside the body where it belongs, but TSM now have to reset themselves up. They need to try and get Achieved background to a situation he can dig himself into this fight, whether he's going to head up, and it looks like he is, across the bedroom and try and push down from 90 just to, again, alleviate that little pocket of space inside Hookah.
I was afraid for a second there as Geo trying to challenge the shotgun. Like, we all know what happened to Merc when he was speaking now. He just got 2 shots and wasn't even able to respond. And indeed, a single fire arrow, just a single tick was enough to get that kill. Oh, Achieved will just come up from the roof and able to get the kill for free down onto Lolo. That is the advantage they need on TSM.
2 times he's been able to get that sort of kill from the same place against a different person, and it's one of those moments where Mkers are finding themselves a little bit out of position and out of place, and that is what a team like TSM, a very well-coordinated team, can punish very quickly. They know where they need to be and when they need to be there. It's the 30-second mark now. They've still got to try and contest with Echo. I'm not sure if he's able to still utilize his drones. I don't know if it's a 0 when they're placed or destroyed. Either way, it's the pressure as Geo goes round to the default spot. Achieved yet again. Another body found in that window. Gets the last. And he's putting up a lot of big words and a lot of big numbers on a single double window.
You know, you're playing against each other right now. You're across from each other. This is the mental game that comes in as well. And it is Mkers that will have to try and endure this and maybe even strike back at them. But this is NA. NA's used to this. This is what they do on NAL. So let's see if it will give them the power to continue moving on as they now lead at 2-1. That was what I was talking about with Scatto. Just quickly hop up, get some shots in. Well, perfect timing there for the detonation onto Charla. But Achieved just able to find 2 kills just in the back without anybody really paying attention to him or where he's coming from. You just saw one, and then you have the one again on Lolo. You're not allowed to let those happen. You need to make sure you know where he's coming from, because twice in a row now, 2 rounds, he's been able to get 3 kills by shooting someone in the back who had no clue he was there.
Achieved hasn't come here to play.
No, he hasn't.
I guess technically he has,
yes.
But he's come here to play. But you know what I mean.
He's coming to win.
11-1, I believe he is, over the opening 3 rounds, as we find ourselves popping back in 1-1-1-1. Across the board, his numbers, his energy is high. He is here to make sure he has a bit of a fight, which we saw TSM not, again, as I said it before, they didn't quite have this in the early start of yesterday. And it cost them, because when they got to the end, there was already this momentum inside FaZe's corner. They were struggling to pull it back over to themselves. They're making sure that doesn't happen again. The team talk overnight, the kind of resurgence of what's sort of happened across the board for the rest of them and the rest of the region is we need to start digging in. We need to start refinding that energy that we're synonymous with and bringing it to the most important play space, which is the game itself. Mkers, unfortunately for them, they've started a little bit slow. They haven't quite been able to have, I guess, the momentum that was otherwise going to bring things in for them.
Yeah, definitely not. TSM is alive and Achieved, especially is alive, and Mkers, as they said, North American teams are predictable. We know how to play against them. Well, I'm not sure if they have been predicting these flanks that are being put up every single time by Achieved, and that seemed to be working out so well. As Akui now rotating down back towards the side, maybe playing inside of the Sunrise bar, for example. The main hold from the defenders, however, will be in theater, and they need to make sure that they hold on to this as long as they possibly can, because it is the vertical control that is at stake, and if you lose that control, TSM is going to be allowed to freely operate on this top floor and open up every single angle they will prefer to and make sure they can displace you.
Well, talk of displacement, what a fadeaway. Finds one, gets the backside just after Bolo was able to get a double inside 90, but look at the pressure from TSM still coming through. He's dropped to his pistol and he drops one man. Really wants to secure the kill, but can't quite pull that final trigger. Charla is so low health, but he punishes one more. And suddenly, within the space of about 15 seconds and 2 E1Ds, we find ourselves in now a 3 versus 1. Akwi. It won't take a huge amount to drop Charla and Merc, but it's a Jaeger. He really only has that gun and the skill that can go behind it, and he's a highly skilled player that hasn't been able to find his way into this game yet. He's been punished for being out of position a couple of times so far, and he's got a big bit of a gamble and rotation to take because you've still got a lot of utility faced up against you. 2 E1Ds, all of anything inside Capitão's crossbolts, as well as obviously Merc, who can just kind of slam those back to anywhere that you're holding. Gio's going to try and stick the plant because that's what they do, and they do it very well. Akwi should be aware of this, and this is the moment he might be able to strike at something if they are going for this setup hold.
That's the question, of course. The smoke are coming out right now, and Gio is going to be trying to find himself a spot, one that is not really predictable, because then Akwi would have an opportunity of going for a blind fire spray through. He's not going to be able to get it. We might be able to see him. No, he doesn't. Merc will get him through the vertical, and TSM able to pick up that round. And I'm pretty sure Merc will be making a Charla appreciation post after that one, after saving his life and getting the second as well.
It's good to see Charla showing up a little bit.
It is, because he's been struggling throughout.
That's it. It's very early in the game, and we don't want to overspeak, but yesterday he didn't quite have some of the big days, and that was one of the things that cost TSM quite a lot, is because his role on that cover, on that flank watch, on the protection, especially around Cafe, the amount of times FaZe were able to just get a play around the backside, which is what Mkers love to do. They love to sort of play that game, and so far, Charla has been that reliable backline that you need him to be. Bolo getting the double inside and around the back at 90 that before Lolo could shut him off. To be fair, the slight misfire there left Lolo on his pistol. Couldn't quite lock off that last kill, and there it is, the saving grace and the double. Just before that canister popped off. It was a risk, but it didn't obviously come out as a reward.
Managed to pick up the round there. TSM now leading 3-1. Achieved this round. He wasn't allowed to play along as it got taken out first, but still 11-2, an absolute stunning performance from the man. And even when he is taken off early, it's his teammates that pick up the slack. Bolo and Charla both with a double kill, making sure that TSM are able to win that one. And now they are leading quite comfortably, and they have the opportunity to bring this one to a 4-1, maybe even a 5-1 lead at the end of this half. They will be looking for that. And Mkers, well, they said they were predictable. They said they knew how to counter them. But so far, it seems like Achieved and TSM are perfectly countering them.
That's it. I think what we're seeing, I mean, it's Coast. It does play well into attackers' hands, and it plays well into good attackers, obviously even better. But the positioning of TSM has just been so much sharper than what Mkers have been able to pull together at this moment in time. They are consistently being punished just for being out of place. It's whether it's that sort of play of Lady Luck, whether it's that timing thing, either way, positioning and the rehearsals there and how you want to go for your pushes, TSM have been very good on. We saw it there even on the take where Bolo pushed around the back of luggage as the E1D was going off towards the mirror window. Sure, it was scrappy, but there's a reason they came off with the body superiority, is because everyone made sure they were in the position they needed to be for those trades to happen. That's why it ended up in the situation where at worst it would have been a 2 versus 1. It turned into a 3 versus 1 because they were able to save the man. It's just really well played. And there's another punishment under an E1D. Yet another kill comes under the rumbling from the sky.
For a second there, I thought Akwi would have been the one that got taken out because he suddenly disappeared from the drone in the outline. But of course the ERC7 giving that, it's a wallbang. Merc takes him out. The ping's coming through. Perfect game sense here on TSM. They knew where he was going, and they knew where to pick him up from, and now it's a 2-minute advantage here for them to exploit and for them to use. And while Gemini is on that flank, the question is, has he been droned, and will TSM be able to put a response towards him?
I think TSM have been taking some lessons from OXG on how to defeat Mkers right now, because they are making this look very simple. And it's all down to, as you said, the timing of the push, the drone intel there to instantly ping. They just swung around and said, he's there. It's like, okay, I'm there too. they've always got that plan B, and as they set themselves up now for their final execute towards the backside of the site itself, it's big attempts, but entirely locked off as Bolo finds one more for the trouble. It's one more spray. Lolo's found himself dug into a corner, uncomfortable, as there's one on the left and one on the right, and he doesn't get either. TSM 4-1.
Flawless round there to make sure that they are really taking control of this matchup and their snowball can get underway. And it's funny when you look at the stats, because you see round number 1, achieved, triple kill. Round number 2, achieved, quadra kill. Round number 3, achieved, quad kill. And after that, the rest of the team started showing up, because until then, it was basically achieved just getting every single kill and TSM following. But now everybody is on the board right here. Merc and Bolo both with beautiful shots down onto these players. It is going to be TSM that lead 4-1. Are they going to be able to move this up to a 5-1? That is the big question, because we keep saying it is a good map for attackers, etc., etc. But it's still like a 52% defense out of win rate. Yeah, that means that currently, theoretically, statistically, Mkers is not really doing too well.
I don't need stats to work that out.
Okay,
I'll be honest. I know you love stats. I know a lot of people love stats, but
for those who wanted it,
if you wanted it, sure. If you wanted to know who was doing well and who wasn't doing well, you just, if I'm honest, have to watch a single round of this game so far. Because even the round that was won by Mkers was close. It was built on the start of a triple kill on the door, which was, you can't ask for a better start. And then everything started to fall apart. As soon as TSM were able to find a little bit of a moment, it took great skill from that situation. In a 2 versus 5, to pull it back, you cannot deny that it takes great skill. But it was Mkers' mistakes that were offering lives to them. There was the swing round from the back of Samurai's bar. It allowed to get the first there from Achieved, or the second there from Achieved after the frag grenade kill. Suddenly he's got 2 bodies. Suddenly it's a 3 versus 2, which is so much less impossible. Uses that momentum to then drop in, because not only has he taken the sort of pin player from behind the wall in the connector of the 2 sites, he's then got the cover of the pin player, so he has a bit of safety now. So he drops, takes that, and gets one more, because their Mkers are trying to reposition themselves quickly, and it's not working. This has been TSM's game. This has been TSM's map up to this point, and it's a bit of a moment there as we get everything sorted out, and you're kind of looking at Mkers, you're like, you've got to step this up right now, because if you don't, TSM is going to walk away with this series.
Indeed. And again, to bring it back to that first round, it was a 5v2, as you mentioned, and it turned into a 1v2 post-plant situation in favor of TSM, just to show how dominant they actually still were throughout that round, with just their 2 members, which were, I believe, Chala, and then I would assume Achieved. But it was Sasha that was able to bring them back, just with 2 quick shots chaining up, because, well, maybe a little bit of misinformation. I don't think you would have expected him to rotate and jump into, the courtyard there, and was able to pick up that final kill. But either way, TSM really in charge here, really showing up big, and are looking to make this a quick map, because they lost once to Mkers. Everybody was maybe making fun of them a little bit. Haha, EU tier 3 better than NA.
Oh, people, let's just say, I guess NA, without saying any other results, if you want to go watch the games, or you want to do them, I'll let you guys do your own spoilers. NA, your day has been mixed.
It has been mixed.
But EU's day has been bad. And it's now up to Mkers to see if they can try and pull this back together, and try and pull stuff. Obviously, there's streams on this, and there's the Bravo stream as well. I'm not sure. What's the current in progress on the Bravo stream?
Well, the next game will start soon.
The next game will start soon.
Because the previous game has ended. And without giving any spoilers.
Without giving any spoilers. NA, your day is mixed. That's all.
We could be out of EU teams at the end of today. In the European Paris.
Look at this. Sorry to interrupt, but it's a quick rush here coming down onto the service side. They swing with the shotgun. Sasha finds one, but the E1D pops off. They get a moment, and Scatto gets a huge amount of damage. That smoke is going to be a bit of a time buyer, but They're just trying to hold on, but Geo goes down too. They tried something bold and suffered for the cost as the diffuser got itself cold and cooked. Mkers is the only one left on the opposite side. In the meantime, Charla on the Lamborghini side has been able to find a double. Brings us back into a little bit of a tighter balance here. We've talked about how they pulled some success before, but the main worry right now is that diffuser. Previously, they were able to pick it back up so they could focus on the objective. Now, they have to instead try and focus on finding one more body, one more pick, pull some pressure away from the diffuser if they want to get it. They can't quite get the angle on the man who's going down the corridor instead. Pre-fires to say, well, I've moved off, so Mkers is going to do the same. Go even wider around the back of Sunrise as they steady along some drones. See if they can just, again, pull something together. That's the one benefit of a rush that goes bad is then you still have a lot of time to reconnect with the map, reconvene with the game, and reassert the hold that you might want to try and put together.
Yeah, that's it, right? I'm just a bit worried because we just saw that the ping was coming down on Sketo, so I'm wondering if there's still going to be a drone around as Mkers is making his way, I believe, all the way to the office to try and go for a big flank. And you have him already here in the blue bar, and there is one on Cool Vibe stairs that he needs to take control of. The question is, did they spot that on the drone as Sketo was moving upwards? Because otherwise that could be coming back to TSM.
That's it, holding, waiting for this audio and this call to swing round. Mkers could really do with a little bit of momentum before the turn of the half, and it's going to start potentially here, locking down this rush as Charla has actually come and set himself up to be the double down on the cover. Potentially going to go for this swing at the first time. As you said, it's all down to whether they spotted it. They definitely have now. Scato swings wide, takes care of Merc with a C4 in hand, pre-places it and pops it, just digging Charla and forcing him into the site itself for safety. He's found a little bit of refuge. Do they know that he's been able to slip through? The angle is being held on the door. They definitely have an idea now. Drops the first with a heck of a pick, but with the rotation coming off the back, Mkers, they're able to get themselves one more before the turn of the half.
Had the right ID there, knew where both of them were and decided to go first for the rotation, but already the man inside of the bathroom, they're able to shut it down. And as we were debating on the SI so far, suddenly TSM decided to pull a rush on us. Something I didn't really expect from them. It's something we saw FaZe Clan do every other round almost. Now TSM, well, they didn't manage to quite make it stick. The smoke canister not really that effective, but the player in the bathroom even more so, able to get these kills in the end. And that is the second round here for Mkers. Now the site swap is going to be active as well, and we do see a alibi coming in. An operator we actually do see quite a bit lately, compared to almost never during regular seasons, at least EUL APAC-wise.
It offers some fun guns. It offers some susceptibility on pace and teams that like to obviously pre-fire. To be fair, the pre-firing is, you don't really see that so often.
Yeah.
It's rare, I think, for somebody to get popped by an alibi that wasn't already in an active firefight somewhere else. But also it makes some of those active firefights trickier and tougher to have. If you've got them set up on a window that you're likely to have this sort of combat across, or something where they want to try and potentially set up a hold or throw some utility through, it makes things a little bit more awkward for the attackers, and sometimes a little bit more awkward, like on that window, which you're otherwise usually doing on an upside-down rappel, which is a bit of a tricky play anyway, with concern of jump-outs and run-outs from DJ or from the split on Sunrise underneath. Awkward can be good.
It can be. And often what you, well, not often, but what you sometimes see is that, like, you see these defenders like playing around the prismas as well to make sure that if they want to be taken care of by the attacker, they'll have to take the gunfight on their terms, maybe accidentally hit the prisma as the sidestep comes in. And with that, you can go for a repeat because you have that real-time information of where he would be in that case. But as you said, if it's not real gunfight, if it's just a prisma is located in a random point of the map and it gets droned out, it's never going to be catching off one of these players because they'll just take care of it before it pings them. So, 2 minutes, 10 on the clock, and Mkers, their first attack is underway now. They're still getting some drones into place. They're still trying to find out what is exactly safe and what is not. As Gemini here, I believe with a C4, taking a bit of damage onto his body. Or Gemini, I have to say. Sorry.
Gemini, yes. If you're wondering why we do the pronunciation as the word isn't written in English, it's because they're not an English player. And Gemini is the pronunciation that the player uses, which is why we use it. There you go. All you know before you correct us every single time we say it. The right way. So, talking of the right way, let's see how they try and get this bit of control now. Over the top, we've got a huge dedication of utility. We have the mirror windows, we have the alibi that we were talking about before, the shields too, the possibility of swinging round and being a little bit aggro here, but look at the spread from Mkers. They have the body on Hookah, they have the one watching the rotation from the roof across the top of Cool Vibes stairs. They want to just sort of put this pressure around a single player. The concern could be Geo with a C4 underneath. The concern could come from a little bit deeper. There's a lot of possibilities. And so is this. Swing wide, get aggressive, see if you can take the fight on Aqua, loses it. But it was a clever idea because it puts you in the situation of if you're fighting back and getting momentum, suddenly a lot of their hold is pointless. Sasha, though, is able to get one more, locks it off, and then instantly swing their way across the top.
So confused by this swing of Merc there. 2 of the grenades of Scatto not even making it through the wall, and you're basically safe in that point. There's no more utility they could have used unless they had the control of either Hookah, Cool Vibes, or the bar itself. So, bit of an unnecessary swing out there as Nitros are still being popped, but no one is being found. Mkers have a really good opportunity here to set themselves up well for their first attacking round. And we said it before, the attack is definitely a side that can get, you know, underway well. Here on a map like Coastline, it's not as defense-sided as other would be, and the Scatter now picks up yet another kill. It's a 2-on-5 situation here. We'll make that 1-on-5 for Mkers.
Well, Lola knows where the last one is, and he's trying to take the firefight all the way till the end as they stick the diffuser on the opposite side. Bolo didn't quite see Gemini and gets dropped from the man hiding behind the plant bot in the corner, and a flawless for Mkers. Well, we said the win on the last round on their defense was good for momentum. A flawless the round after is better. They were able to step in. Their hold was very well put together. They knew where they needed to be and how they wanted to shut it down. As you said, a couple moments of questionable use of utility. It got the job done, whether they intended for it to be done that way or not.
The utility did it, but
I know.
Swing of Merc did.
Yeah. I'm looking at it as the cost of they spent utility and they got a kill. Ouch. And that's one of those moments where it's like technically correct. It's like it's a form of correct, but
it will not work again.
Like, you fall down a set of stairs and you end up standing on your feet, and someone goes, "Did you mean to do that?"
You say yes, calculated.
You say yes, calculated.
But it's totally not.
Risk. Whether that was how... Either way, Penthouse, we head to a different site. A site that only really gets a lot of play when Mira is on the board, which, to be fair, nowadays in Coast, she doesn't get removed every game like she used to.
Yeah, it's you know, when the bans came out, it was Mira, 100% ban rate, and that's starting to shift now. Teams are more going towards, for example, a Valkyrie, who is now, I believe, the most banned defender across the board. Mira is getting to see a little bit more light throughout the day nowadays. It's fun to see, as it does change up the site quite a bit. It makes for different holds, it makes for different attacks, and different points that players need to focus on. If you wonder what that might be, well, very often, Mira is going to be changing a lot of these sidelines. A lot of angles can suddenly be challenged as where they first would not be able to. And you need to deal with those. And there's 2 ways of doing it. Or 3 ways, rather. Either you shoot it out by shooting the canister or putting up X-Kairos or a Heartbreach charge, or you use a Twitch drone for it to try and get rid of it, or you go for vertical to make sure that you make the position unplayable and maybe even take care of the mirror window. So you need to get rid of it if you want to make sure that sideline is unplayable. And that forces the attackers to adapt their plan of approach.
The drone game was a big issue against TSM yesterday from FaZe. FaZe was consistently able to find TSM players, isolate them and drop them, and we've just seen it. Punish achieved yet again. Aqui crept in underneath a little bit of a break on the bottom of that window there and was able to swing around on the intel that they had. It was a problem that they faced against FaZe. They had to start evaluating and changing their idea on how to control intel and stop it being used against them so frequently. But seeing moments like that, it gives you those little nightmarish flashbacks to, uh-oh, this is how they started to lose stuff yesterday.
It is the biggest critique we had to them. The fact that every single time the one roamer would be picked up without anybody being there to try and respond to it on the side of TSM. And again, now, Achieved gets picked up. No one is even near enough to try and make something happen, to try and force back a play. And that gives Mkers such a big advantage to play with. However, right now there's still a player down active on the white stairs, and what I believe Mkers want to do is get control of the lobby so they can get rid of this one mirror window right here. And that is going to be stopped now as Scato moved in, and Merc will be able to pick up that kill.
Merc is going to try and dig himself in here and slightly pull just up the back of the white stairs before he gets caught out. Locked off, as you said, the opener there against the sledge. Those frag grenades that could have been used underneath and could have been used pretty well are gone. Merc almost is too. Escapes with a sliver, and luckily Bolo's there, crawling across the floor with the Alder to get a little bit of a response from behind. Sets himself with this big angle and actually swings a little bit further around to the top of Cool Vibes to get a bit of width, get a bit of a hold here as Sasha now is a little bit more isolated, concerned about the backside of Hall of Fame and the backside of VIP 2. It's the pop of the head of Geo. Taken out as they swung and got a bit too aggressive. That allows Acqui to keep some concerned and conceded efforts towards the back as Sasha army crawls his way steadily and slowly in. The swing from 90 is dangerous, sees the back of a man, but it's just going to try and stick it whilst being shot.
Not sure why they went for the plan there, because it was still a mirror window that was giving away the information. Could have gone all the way behind the bed. It would have been a way safer space, and there's only 30 seconds left right now in a one-on-one situation for Lolo. He's not going to be able to find that kill. The Maestro inside of VIP will win the round, and TSM are able to secure themselves at least not to be equaled by Mkers right now. So they will lead 5-3. That's where it could have been a 4-on-4 if it wasn't for that. So I was going to praise him. Nice job for actually army crawling through, because there's no way they're going to see you. But as soon as you stand up, of course, like the mirror window that is located on that wall will be like, you know, this is why we place it here. Now we can suddenly try and fire at you. You should have crawled behind the bed. It would have been way safer.
I could see why they thought they might be able to pull it off there. Is in that situation, the swing has to come kind of in front of you, so your body that's on Hall of Fame could get the cover. If they went behind the bed, that means the Maestro could do the swinging, and that means you would have to go deeper to get it, which means that you would then be susceptible to the cover there. But you know, it's one of those moments where you suddenly look at the time and you make a decision. You make a rash decision and you say, we've got to try and stick this. We've got to try and do whatever. They thought that they might have just been wide enough to escape having that angle caught from them. They weren't. They were punished for it. And, you know, it still almost came down to the wire. It came down to a bit of a cat and mouse at the end.
I mean, if you had to challenge Theater with two players in there, that's a 2-on-1 situation for your man in the cover. And there was also one in VIP. That would have been just the Maestro you had to deal with. So 1-on-1 on cover. It's more likely you would win that fight. Of course, hindsight is 20/20. Mkers not able to win that round, even though they had the right ID. And now we'll have to try and fight back, because if they lose this round, TSM will find themselves on a map point, which can elevate them, the first map, into this best-of-3 series. And you know what that means? That means that Mkers is basically one leg out of the tournament already, if that would happen.
Now, who is going to be the first victim in the game that we complimented Mkers on for before? It could be one of theirs. If TSM are able to, again, construct something to hold off on the way that they had a habit of, unfortunately, losing that loose roam, that loose player. They did start to learn a lesson, but lessons can be learned and forgotten just as quickly as they can be developed and changed. They started this game with a lot of intensity, and you assume that's going to carry on as we get closer and closer to the finale of Coastline. It's this steady, I guess, learning game of how do we keep their intel away from us, as Lolo wants to be hot droned round the back towards security, towards office. It's a lot of stacking of intel, but they haven't been able to find anybody just yet. It's clearing the top slowly and steadily instead.
Yeah, they're not going for that push onto the roamer this time around. They are going to go for a direct take, it looks like, from the aquarium side, but you have to be careful because there could be a C4 below. As Scato here going for the first gunfight. Actually, Merc will drop. Not quite sure where that kill came from, but I believe it's Acqui that took care of the player that was actually being challenged. Yeah, they have a very long angle all the way from VIP onto Merc into Billiards.
Well, there's the first pick, and you can hear the pressure on the backside of the quad wall as they've popped multiple different angles. They've repositioned slightly I say as he instantly goes back and actually tries to get aggressive back on. The 3 holes means it's a bit of a guessing game, but the hot pings say, no, it isn't. Long arms of smoke all the way to luggage. As the crossfire across the top and the backside makes them suffer. It might have been just from a man that is determined not to leave that bar. Scatto saw a sliver of somebody slip past underneath the door, but it's Charla again that digs in, holds off until Scatto's able to get the swing. But what a massive moment that was for him to kind of suffer all that aggression and say no. Because you look at the timer now, you look at 30 seconds, and you look at this, as the C4 is prepped and ready for Achieve to swing up to this default. They're in a really tricky situation right now.
There it comes, will be blown up, but not on the right position. Bolo will be able to get the kill, though. Double kill for him, and make that a triple. TSM able to get round number 9. They're on map point now for here on Coastline. They managed to get the next round, or the one after, or the one even after that, as they have a 6-3 lead. They pick up map 1, and they're making a statement that it was only one time Mkers was going to be able to beat them. It was only going to be in groups, and not here during the playoffs. Not here when their own tournament is on the line to potentially be taken away from them. It all starts off with, well, a couple of good kills from Mkers, but the decision to not go for the vertical. A lot of pressure on them here. And also the holes made by the Hibana actually causing more trouble, you could say, than the advantage that they were able to gain out of it.
I mean, you have to give credit for them for just digging in and holding on. A lot of other people would have sort of given up that post and said, listen, I'm going to need some support and I'm going to need somewhere else. Charla just stuck it. He said, I might be able to play these canisters, which they did, were able to find a kill, got traded, but that kill, that refusal to go down, that refusal to give up land that would have otherwise been Mkers setting themselves up for a push with an extra 10, 15 seconds, that's focus taken away from elsewhere. That's utility taken away from elsewhere, and that's TSM taking themselves to map point. Now, as we bury down inside blue, it's the site that we've said is one that does play well for TSM. They sort of set themselves up here with a lot of consistency yesterday.
Yep.
It was a bit of a mixed bag of results. It came down to big clutch moments. It was a consistent push against the mirror of Geo that was sort of holding on to that blue and Sunrise connector wall.
I have to say, though, TSM is looking really strong so far in this matchup. Only 3 more rounds is what Mkers need to find. And, well, I say only, but that is going to be a very big ask from them here. They haven't been able to make their attacks really stick yet. They, well, might have had some mistakes on the way as well. And, well, they do get the opening, though. Akwi is starting it off onto Bolo, a man who has been harassing them throughout the day and throughout this matchup. So this might set them up here for a good final push here. But we also saw the entry kills go down to Mkers earlier on, and TSM very able to bring it back to their cause.
You can see the slow crawl trying to take up a fresh position there, but not get popped in the head, which seems to be a bit of a recurring problem sometimes when they love to just pop towards windows and see if they can find anyone else on the, I guess, other side. Is Merc now is the next to start feeling some of the heat and the pressure coming in from Mkers. They're looking towards Hookah. There's a bit of a recollection, by the looks of it, of some of the slightly further away TSM players. We saw one body around Kitchen that I think is setting themselves up to swing in case the pressure comes around on 2 Cool Vibes instead. They're sort of cementing themselves with one loose player here. Mkers are going kind of heavy towards this push onto the split side. It's still a lot of time, and it's the grenade that's going to go bounce around the back to destroy the utility that's in the default plant spot corner, but without that vertical control yet either, it becomes a very dangerous attempt here.
Will be indeed. It's Charla just holding off onto the potential bridge to come through. Grenades are starting to rain out, and Achieve for the great double kill is going to be starting it off. But the question is, can he find more?
No is the answer, but it's Geo who's able to lock off behind the bar as Lolo creeps around from the backside. He was able to do some big bits previously on a lot of these clutch swings, and it's the cover here that might be the first blow. He knows this is a spot that's going to be watched, but he also knows he has 50 seconds. So he's waiting for them to make a mistake. There it is. Swings wide first and puts them in a 2 versus 2. A huge take as he repositions around onto the door, hoping that TSM go for a slightly different approach as Scatto does exactly that. They're going to find and recollect themselves in a different angle, a different method, a different modus. as they go round to the backside, hoping that the surprise from Cool Vibes might be the strike that takes it out. The spray comes through, and it's TSM, and it's all blue as they are able to take